Most salespeople out there are actually selling in a very common fashion. I have found that these pitfalls actually go back to the late 1800s, at the birth of sales training. And what we find is that most salespeople are using a lot of those same regurgitated ideas over and over and over again, and falling into some very common traps. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 common selling techniques that you absolutely must avoid. Check it out. Number 1, pitching your product. This is probably the biggest single mistake that I see salespeople making over and over and over again. Your prospects are immune to the typical sales pitch. If you are starting your sales meetings with some kind of a pitch or a presentation, then you are selling in a way that is going to shut you down from a sales perspective. What we want to do instead is learn what the prospect is actually focused on in the first place. The presentation should happen way towards the end of the selling process. The whole early stage of selling is all about discovering what your prospect really needs. Now, does that mean that you can't come in with some information? Absolutely not. But we don't want to start actually presenting or pitching our product to the prospect until later on in the selling process. Number 2, using enthusiasm. This is one of the biggest turnoffs in sales. And you may actually not be aware of how your voice changes when you go into a selling situation. But just ask a friend, role play a selling scenario and see if your voice actually changes. What we want to avoid is the, "Hey, how are you?" approach to selling. Prospects will be immediately turned off by this approach because it sounds and feels so inherently salesy that they will immediately shut down. Instead, be genuine. Check the enthusiasm at the door and instead just be genuine, focusing on them, trying to understand what's going on in their world. By the way, does this mean that you can't have any personality in a selling situation? No, absolutely not. You can have lots of personality, but it's just not about that false enthusiasm. Number 3, persuading prospects. Persuading prospects is another common pitfall that I see with salespeople. And this idea goes way back to the very birth of sales. In fact, if you search on Amazon for sales books, at least half of them are going to be focused on persuasion. The problem with persuasion is that if my focus is on persuading you as a prospect, I am already assuming that you are a fit for my product or service. And that's not true, right? There are a lot of different reasons that a potential prospect will not be a fit for your product or service. The goal of the early stages of a selling opportunity is not to persuade the prospect to do business with you, but instead to determine whether they're a fit in the first place. By doing that, you're not only going to clear out a bunch of that junk in your selling pipeline, but you're also going to come off as so much more credible as a salesperson. So there are the 3 common selling techniques that you absolutely must avoid. I want to hear from you. Which of these 3 techniques do you most have to avoid? And be honest, maybe you've used one of these in the past and you realize, you know what, it's time to move on. Which of those do you feel like you need to avoid? Be sure to share below in the comments section, and I will be sure to respond to every single comment. And for more videos on sales tips, simply click right here or visit markwashak.com, where you'll find a bunch of other great resources that will help you take your sales to the next level.